Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into an ancient text with a message that feels startlingly modern. It's a chapter from the Quran called Surah Al Mutaffin, and it's all about honesty, accountability, and what really happens to the human heart when we think nobody's watching.
Right from the get-go, the source material hits us with one of the harshest warnings you can imagine. It's a direct condemnation, but not of some big cinematic evil. No, it's about something much more common, something that can happen every single day at the market, in the office, even online.
Because, you see, this isn't just about shortchanging someone out of a few dollars. According to the text, it's about a whole deceptive mindset, a kind of moral blind spot that ends up having these profound, even devastating consequences for the soul.
To really get how serious this is, we have to look at that very first word, woe. In the original Arabic, the word is wail. And as the source explains, this is not just a light slap on the wrist. This word signifies an extreme disaster. We're talking about severe punishment, total destruction. It's a big deal. So who are these people getting such an intense warning? The text calls them the mutaffifin. And they aren't just obvious blatant thieves. Oh no, it's way more subtle. These are the people who have a fundamental double standard. When it's their turn to receive something, they demand every last ounce, down to the penny. But when the shoe's on the other foot and it's their turn to give, suddenly they're cutting corners, giving a little less. It's the absolute definition of a moral double standard.
The text then just cuts right to the chase. It identifies one single root cause for this entire behavior. And it's not greed, it's not a lack of education, it's a single, critical lapse in belief that makes all of this possible.
And here it is, this piercing question. The source is basically saying that this entire moral collapse, this willingness to cheat and be unfair, it all stems from forgetting that one day you'll be held accountable. The moment that belief in a day of judgment starts to weaken, our daily ethics just start to crumble.
Okay, let's really get into this, because the text then outlines this chilling psychological process. It shows us step by step how these seemingly small acts of dishonesty can start a chain reaction that leads to complete spiritual ruin.
The central metaphor here is rust. Now, think about rust. It doesn't just appear overnight, right? It's a slow, creeping corrosion. It's the result of repeated exposure, one drop of water after another. Well, the text uses this incredibly powerful image to describe what repeated sin does to the human heart.
So, here's how that breakdown happens. It starts with just one small act of dishonesty. Then you repeat it, and your conscience gets a little duller. You keep going, and pretty soon, the very idea of truth starts to get uncomfortable, even irritating. The final stage? A heart that's completely covered in this spiritual rust, totally unable to see or accept any kind of guidance.
And this downward spiral leads to a destination the text calls Sijjīn. Now, this isn't just a physical place. It's a state of being. It symbolizes the absolute lowest point, a record of your actions that's sealed in humiliation and disgrace. It's the ultimate spiritual degradation.
And then, the text delivers its most profound point about punishment. The source explains that worse than any fire, worse than anything you can imagine, is this: being veiled from God. It describes a complete and total separation from the divine, the deepest possible loss a soul can experience. But then, right when the picture seems its absolute bleakest, the whole narrative flips. So let's shift gears and look at the opposite path, because the contrast it builds is incredibly powerful and, honestly, pretty hopeful.
In direct opposition to Sijjīn, you have the state of ḥIlliyyūn. If Sijjīn is the lowest of the low, ḥIlliyyūn is the highest of the high. It represents honor, closeness to God, and a record of deeds so pure that it's actually witnessed by the angels. And you see, their reward isn't just about avoiding punishment. It's about entering the state of complete peace and honor. The source describes them with faces that are just radiant with joy, enjoying a pure, elevated existence. It's the ultimate outcome for a life of integrity. So now we get to what's called the Great Reversal. This is where the social order of this world gets turned completely upside down, and the promise of ultimate justice is finally fulfilled.
The source points out a timeless pattern, doesn't it? In this world, the corrupt often mock people of faith. They feel superior, they wink at each other as the honest person walks by, but on the day of judgment, the roles are completely reversed. The believers are the ones seated in honor, watching as those who once mocked them finally face the consequences.
So, this all brings us to the crucial question, right? Why does a text about ancient weights and measures feel so intensely relevant to us today?
Well, it's because it directly confronts one of the most common and dangerous excuses of our time. But everyone does it. This warning just cuts right through that whole idea of normalized corruption, whether it's fudging a timesheet, manipulating some data, or any other small act of dishonesty we justify because it seems like no big deal.
The ultimate takeaway here is that this text is a powerful wake-up call. It's meant to restore a sense of moral seriousness to our everyday lives. It's a reminder that, in the eyes of the divine, there's no such thing as a small injustice. Every action is recorded, every intention is known, and everything will be weighed on a perfect scale.
And so the source material leaves us with this final, piercing question. And it's not really a question, is it? It's a statement of absolute certainty. A reminder that in the end, the scales of divine justice are perfect, they are complete, and they are absolutely inescapable.